final thought on the show today. We got a listener question a little over a week ago from Matt, who is one of our most loyal listeners. We love getting feedback from Matt on the show. He had a question, Scott, that I know you put a lot of thought into about whether Stardom should consider working with other promotions internationally and what you would want that to look like if it happened. I know you put a lot of thought into this, Scott, so I'm going to leave it to you. What is kind of your thoughts when it comes to Stardom working with other promotions internationally, kind of like we've seen, for example, New Japan do with Ring of Honor, CML, and now AEW?
So I think this was a very interesting question because I think Stardom is 1 or 2 years removed from being a promotion of great popularity. I think we're already, seeing it more and more as the months go on. And when it comes to finding a promotion or a company to work with, people are instantly going to say AEW. I've already seen it. I've seen it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are telling me Julia should go to AEW, Mayu Iwatani should drop in once in a while. And I want to start this off by saying AEW needs to learn how to book the women they already have first.
Just to interrupt really quickly, everybody, you can listen to the Dynamite show every week where I talk about this at length with Paul Fontaine about how frustrated I am with the AEW women's division. I'm skeptical of that relationship as well. Go ahead, Scott.
So for me, instantly, AEW's off the table until they fix that. And I think something interesting to note is that a lot of people would like Stardom World to start having their house shows be live. I think that is something that everyone expects to happen. Everyone questions why it's not happening, especially now that they're owned by Bushiroad, who, of course, owns New Japan. And New Japan World, pretty much every show is free except for like these random house shows they've been doing recently. So my big thing is, I've been told by Dylan of Stardom Quest, who knows someone that knows something, that Stardom World, the current server, doesn't allow live shows on that site, and they are in a contract until that can end. So I don't know how many years. I think it's 1 or 2. So
yeah, that's the big sort of thought. This isn't confirmed, but I think it's general consensus that is the situation.
Yeah. So I think part 1 for Stardom is to get Stardom World to become a live platform. I think that has to be step 1 in terms of being popular in America. Step 2, I do think partnering with a promotion would be smart. And Bushiroad has these relationships with Impact, and they did with Ring of Honor. I don't know too much anymore because they kind of were like, all right, you guys are not fun. We're going to go with Impact and AEW. And this is going to sound crazy. But if there was an American promotion that to send 1 or 2 AEW talents to, not AEW, I'm lost now. Stardom talents too. I honestly think Impact wouldn't be a bad choice because there's this difficulty with AEW because of its huge stage that people are expecting certain things. Like, we watched Maki Ito go on AEW, and do you remember that backlash?
Oh yeah, she was. There were people saying she's the worst worker I've ever seen. I'm like, what are you talking about?
And that's my struggle here. So when I say a place like Impact, one, they for the most part have the women's division down there, I'd say. I mean, you got the Deonna Purrazzo's, you have Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steeles and so on and so forth, and I think they do pretty well with their Knockouts division. If there was a company for them to partner with, I think Impact wouldn't be a bad idea. But what I think would be best for Stardom is, say New Japan, when COVID clears up, wants to do a super show, which they have done in the past. They did the Madison Square Garden super show. They did a few in California. I think the best course of action is doing half New Japan and half Stardom on a Super Show. You can call it the Bushi Road Super Show, kind of like the Cyber Fight Festival that we've seen. I'm kind of shocked they haven't considered this yet. Maybe it's because COVID really has been the driving force, but New Japan's pretty popular in America, and I think if you want to help popularize, it wouldn't be the worst idea to do a New Japan Stardom Super Show. Maybe Stardom competes with some Impact talent, AEW talent, if that's kind of how they want to weave it in. But to me, partnering with an American promotion right now just isn't in the cards, I think. Because the Ring of Honor one, I know that actually popularized them a bit. Hana Kimura was one of the key parts.
Well, they got Mayu, of course, was the champion, and then Oedo Tai showed up for a few shows, and I remember specifically Kagetsu and Hana Kimura were like very, very popular on those shows.
Yeah, the problem is I just can't see Mayu Iwatani lose to Kelly Klein again. That's like my whole problem.
That was pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So Scott, I think you've laid out a good case. I actually kind of disagree with you in like most ways. I think you've backed up everything you've said super well. Coming at it as somebody who's purely looking at business for Stardom and Bushi Road, I think so there's sort of a give and take at play here, because I think the big concern right now with Stardom is talent leaving. I think that's sort of an underrated aspect to this. If Julia or I don't know, or like Natsupoi or Momo Watanabe or some of these people, Azumi, somebody like that. If you get a couple top stars, Utami would be crushing, who sign with WWE or AEW or something like that, then they've built up their roster well, but those are big blows. That's way more impactful than other comparable promotions losing individual talent. A way you mitigate that is through creating these working relationships that give people the opportunity to work internationally on big stages without losing your talent, right? Yeah. I think you made a good point about I think AEW books their women's division terribly and doesn't give them the sort of respect and everything they deserve. I will say it hasn't really hurt the talent that much, though. You look at the Joshi members on the roster: Riho, Yuka Sakazaki, Maki Ito. Even people still talk about Shoko Nakajima. And she hasn't been here in a year and a half. Not only that, Hikaru Shida was their champion for a full year, and she's universally beloved with the fans of AEW. All of those wrestlers are super popular within the actual fan base, and I think the negative voices are people who really aren't fans of AEW anyway. For the most part, obviously there's going to be exceptions to every generalization like that. But I think even if somebody like Julia isn't given that sort of top star respect that we kind of expect or would want from somebody like that, I still think it's beneficial in getting attention and getting business for Stardom, especially if they put on a great performance like that. So I would not do Impact, although I think I'm closer to you than I was beforehand, because I think you laid out that case for Ring of Honor really well, talking about the impact that Stardom had, or that Ring of Honor had for Stardom. So with all that being said, what I would do is I would try to partner domestically with not just Joshi companies, but also men's companies, specifically, of course, New Japan. I mean, domestically, that's how you get eyes on your promotion. It's like Impact partnering with AEW. It's how you get eyes on your promotion. Even if you're treated like nothing in comparison, it's still like a net good. It's a similar thing internationally. Like Maki Ito doesn't have a fraction of her international personality if there's not that AEW connection right there. Same with people like Yuka Sakazaki and Hikaru Shida and all that type of stuff. Like those are legitimate American women's wrestling stars that people know about now. And they, obviously, I mean, 2% of AEW fans had even heard of Hikaru Shida before the company was founded. So I think I laid out my case well. Any thoughts to sort of close it out based on our differing sort of conceptions of whether Stardom should partner with companies, the talent leaving question, anything that you want to address before we sort of close this show out?
I definitely see where you're coming from, and I think there's a point where we meet halfway, really, like the way you put out your plan and my plan. I could see how this works. I think my biggest thing is it does come down to fandom a bit, because it would hurt me in a lot of ways to see Mayu Iwatani and Julia have to be on Dark Elevation and Dark every single week. Like, that's just like a big problem for me. And that's what Riho's doing. That's what Thunder Rosa's doing. And I would say those two debatably are their top, like, in-ring talents. And I think AEW makes a lot of sense down the line. I do. But I'm going off of Matt's plan, thinking he kind of means like within the next few months. And I need them to show me that they care about their women's division first, because no offense to their women's division they have right now, Stardom does laps around them, plain and simple.
Of course.
And they should not be stuck on Dark Elevation if you bring one or two in. And that's just my little thing. But I like your idea. Internationally, partnering with someone's definitely still the way to go.
I think, just sort of final thought here, we're both in agreement that, like, Stardom partnering with AEW doesn't really move the needle for us as fans. What I think it does is move the needle for people who are not currently Stardom fans. And that's, I guess, the big question. And that's why you expand, right? That's how you get stuff.
I mean, Ring of Honor did it. That should tell you a lot. Like, Ring of Honor was able to help them. So you make a good point there.
It'll be interesting to see. Stardom is currently the fastest rising promotion in the world. It'll be very interesting to see what they do going forward with those relationships. They already have relationships with domestic Joshi companies, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that.